Hey everybody, it's Brian. I am at the Sundance Film Festival. We're just wrapping things up here, and I have the great Cody Dericks from Next Best Picture here with me today to talk about the Oscar nominations from this week, and also we wanted to give you our very early predictions for who we think is going to win. So just to start things off, Cody, what is your take on this week's Oscar nominations? Are you happy with the nominees?
I think they're actually not bad. The Oscars can be horrible. There can be really upsetting exclusions or inclusions. And this year, don't tell Twitter this, but besides, there were things that we were predicting to miss, like Greta Gerwig and director. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we both were thinking she wasn't going to make it into director.
Nah, wasn't surprising. And she's a nominee in writing, so,
Yeah.
She has more nominations for the film Barbie than I do.
Something to remember, Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie are nominated.
Yes.
For things, not the categories maybe some of us wanted.
But yeah, I think they're pretty good nominations overall. I think Best Director could have been a hell of a lot worse. It could have been better, obviously. It's, still a little disappointing that there seems to be only one slot allowed for a woman per year unless there's a global pandemic. But for what it is and knowing the Academy and specifically that branch, I think it's actually pretty good. A pretty good lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little predictable. I wanted a few more surprises. Yeah. Like a really shocker nominee for Zac Efron or something. Just something really exciting that would have made me, jump off the bed when I recorded my reaction video. I didn't get that. I mean, really, America Ferrera in acting was maybe the biggest surprise, but I've been predicting her since October.
People, yeah. Right? I also have been predicting her for not that long, but I did come around to America Ferrera at the end, and that was personally my proudest prediction.
When she missed SAG, I went, maybe not, but because supporting actress was all over the place, I thought she had a chance because Barbie was so strong. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of people in supporting actress who, they would have been the only nominee for that movie.
Right.
So that can be kind of tricky.
Sandra Hüller, who was already getting nominated, an actress for Zone of Interest, so...
Yeah.
It just shook out correctly. Correctly meaning for me.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite film of the year, as you guys all know, Past Lives, I was really rooting for Greta Lee. I knew it was a long shot. I was I don't even know if she's in 6th place. She might be in 7th or 8th or something here, because all she really got was Critics' Choice and Golden Globes. But I don't know. I was just Ruth Negga, loving. Sometimes they'll come through with someone who just got 1 or 2 precursors, and there's a passion vote there. But they instead went with Annette Bening.
Yeah. Things went swimmingly for her on nomination morning.
And I don't hate that nomination. I feel like a lot of people really despise it. I made a video about Annette Bening last year, Annette Bening and the Elusive Oscar. I researched her whole career, and she's fantastic. And it's not one of her best performances in her long career, but I don't hate that nomination.
It's gonna continue to elude her. Sorry, Annette. And this time you can't blame Hilary Swank.
That's right. Hilary Swank. Mm-hmm. Maybe she'll present or something. She'll be there, right?
It's always Hilary Swank or Natalie Portman is in the running because she got a Jackie nomination. She was kind of in the race this year for May, December, but not really. So those two voodoo dolls she has in her house, I'm sure, are still haunting her.
Were there any films you loved that either got just 1 nomination or 0 nomination? You really wanted to get something? May, December did get in for 1, and Screenplay got something. That's one of my favorite films.
Yeah, May, December is my second favorite of the year and my favorite screenplay by far.
Oh, so you must have been bummed when it only got the 1 nomination. Did you want an acting nomination?
Bummed hypothetically, but I had already grieved because I was prepared. I assumed it was only getting a screenplay nomination. Sorry, Charles Melton. I did not have you in my running pretty weeks ago, basically, ever since BAFTA and SAG. I thought maybe Julianne Moore could have gotten that weird 5th spot in supporting actress.
Outside of instead of Ferrera, maybe.
Yeah, but Moore. That would have been weird just to have Julianne Moore in the screenplay. It being a lone screenplay nominee and the only non-Best Picture nominee in the screenplay categories makes sense. Todd Haynes has gotten a few nominations before in the screenplay categories, so I wasn't surprised.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's dig into the top 8 categories. We're going to talk about the category a little bit, and then we'll touch on who we think right now, just a few days after the nominations, who we think is going to win in early March. Yeah. So starting with Best Adapted Screenplay, the nominees are American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So what do you think of this category?
So the first thing to know is that there's no Killers of the Flower Moon here.
Yes. How did that miss? Eric Roth and Scorsese. Yeah. I mean, it seems like that would have made it.
It's the only Best Picture nominee to not have a screenplay nomination, which is weird because it is a feat of adaptation. Mm-hmm. It's taking this huge book and turning it into this huge movie and making it watchable, and you can follow the through line easily. You can follow the characters specifically. It's a good screenplay. And I know that quality is not always the most important to the nomination committee, but it is bizarre for this to be the only Best Picture nominee to not be awarded for its writing, when some people thought it maybe could win this category.
Yeah. And if Barbie had shown up in original, that probably would have taken the slot of May, December.
Yep.
And Killers would have gotten into adapted, and all 10 Best Picture nominees would have gotten into screenplay.
Yeah, it's weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, but there's a few reasons why I think the screenplay didn't get in for Killers. I can't be sure. Mm-hmm. My thought is maybe it just was thought of as too unwieldy. It's a very long film.
Very long.
I think that personally, the long runtime and the pace are deliberate and help the movie's themes, and creates this world where the horrible murders are just so routine. It's like sun goes up, somebody gets murdered, sun goes down. And you only get there if you have this 3.5 hour movie where you start to feel like what the residents of that part of the country probably felt, where it's like, here we go again, because it's 3.5 hours of just this genocide.
Mm-hmm. So who do you think, what do you think is going to win in adapted screenplay right now? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, right?
It's hard.
What are you leaning towards?
For a long time, I was like, Barbie's going to win no matter what category it goes in.
Oh, okay. You still feel that way?
I do right now.
You think that'll be the big win for Barbie? It can't win picture, it can't win acting.
Screenplay, 2 texts, and a song sounds about right. But I don't know. My thinking is not only is it known for its writing, but I think also Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach getting up there together, married couple, both.
They like that when it's a married couple that they get the edge.
They both have. Well, I don't know if it's the edge, but I think it's very cute
to win.
It's very sweet, and they both have independent screenplay nominations of their own before this.
Right, and neither one has won, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and they both have many, many great films behind them, and this would be a cool way to honor them both.
Yes.
So that is a good idea.
I could see American Fiction winning.
American Fiction won at Critics' Choice, right? Mm-hmm. But then Barbie also won at Critics' Choice in original.
That's what makes it so confusing. We're going to have nothing but original screenplay wins for Barbie all season.
I do think it's weird how Oppenheimer is like the obvious choice for picture and director, but nobody's even talking about it in screenplay.
I've seen a few people mention it. I just think it's not what the movie is most well regarded for, and I love it. This is so boring, but Oppenheimer's my favorite movie of the year. Sorry.
Wow. He picked Oppenheimer. That's a bold choice.
That's me. Bold. But American Fiction, I mean, it did really well in nomination morning. It got 5 nominations when most people like myself were predicting it for just picture, screenplay, actor.
Yeah, I think if American Fiction had just gotten, let's say, picture, actor, and screenplay. What was the 5th nomination it got?
Picture, actor, screenplay, supporting actor, and score.
Score. Got score.
Really surprising.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like they really like that movie. They might want to reward it somewhere, and this is the only category I think it could win, right?
Yes, but what movies did they like even more? Barbie and Oppenheimer. So, who knows?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's how they think. Like, they can say, well, we'll give Barbie a couple technical awards, like maybe a song award, and then we'll give American Fiction screenplay. Or they don't really think that way?
Lately, it has been a bit more spread the love. Right. Actually, no, I take that back.
Because, last year we had a lot of films going with nothing.
Everything Everywhere won 7 last year. Dune won 6 the year before. So they like rewarding like one movie a lot and then kind of piecing.
So what's your final choice in adapted screenplay? If you had to choose right now, what's going to win?
Prediction? I'm still going with Barbie.
Barbie. Okay. I'm going American Fiction.
Okay. Replay this in like 2 months and humiliate us.
Yeah. All right, the next category is original screenplay. The nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May, December, and Past Lives. What do you think of that category?
Well, again, I love May, December, so thank you, Todd.
got the one nomination.
Thank you. This category shook out to be more predictable than I thought. I didn't know if they were going to go for Maestro in screenplay. I think even, it's obviously and clearly the most divisive film in the Best Picture lineup. And I think even people who love it don't think the screenplay is a masterpiece of writing.
Right.
I think there's narrative issues personally. But they liked the movie. Clearly, it didn't have any backlash that people online thought it might have. So it got that spot that some people were thinking would go to Saltburn or Air or something like that.
When they said that Barbie was going adapted, I thought maybe Saltburn can get into original.
Yeah.
It seems open. And so, yeah, and I think people were wondering if Maestro could get that. Like, they might give Maestro a bunch of other stuff, but a screenplay, maybe give it to something else. But, so May, December took the slot that maybe could have gone to Saltburn and given that film one nomination.
Well,
I'm an outlier. I love Saltburn.
I don't. But I predicted Saltburn for screenplay as well. Previous winner in Emerald Fennell. It is, like it or not, a very showy piece of writing. And I think it was I think Maestro was the 5th nominee. I think May December, even though it wasn't
Oh, you think Maestro was
Yeah.
behind May December?
Even though May December wasn't a Best Picture nominee, I do think it was more expected, and I think more appreciated for its writing. But Maestro got in. What do we know?
Yeah, so I mean, the ones that can't win here are Maestro, May, December. I mean, if Past Lives had gotten one acting nomination, I wouldn't count it out. But there was the Women Talking prize.
Yeah.
I just think Anatomy of a Fall has so much love, and it overperforms, and they're gonna want to give it something. What's something else that movie could win?
Actress. I don't think it's going to, but it could.
That would be wild if she won Actress over Gladstone.
And International Feature. Oh wait, never mind.
Yes, International Feature. They went with the Taste of Things, which didn't show up, right?
Sorry, they didn't like the taste. But I'm surprised you're saying Anatomy of a Fall, because I also am right now predicting that, and I thought that was maybe a little bit of a surprise. But it just won screenplay at the Globes, where there's no original or adapted. It just won screenplay.
Yeah,
I think the movie is really well regarded right now. It's getting a lot of attention because it is the one female nominee this year in Best Director, and this could be a place for more Justine Triet. Exactly, and it basically maxed out its nominations. You know, there really wasn't a place it could have gotten in besides a surprise in supporting actor for the young actor playing the son. But it got picture, actress, director, screenplay, editing. That is like a perfect top tier Best Picture contender right there.
Yeah, for the longest time, I thought The Holdovers would probably win screenplay, but because it missed in director, it seemed like it did okay, but it didn't overperform like Anatomy of a Fall did. So, yeah, I think we're both predicting for this one Anatomy of a Fall, and I think we feel pretty good about it. That feels. No. Oh, you don't?
No, I don't feel good about it, but
okay,
it's what I'm predicting.
Okay, yeah, I think right now we're both predicting Anatomy of a Fall for original screenplay. All right, next up is Best Supporting Actor. The nominees are Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction; Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon; Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer; Ryan Gosling, Barbie; and Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. All right, so what do we think of this category?
So this basically shook out to whichever of the Poor Things boys you were predicting. I went with both.
I went with both too.
Kind of because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I was like, I felt pretty good about Jeffrey Wright getting in, but Sterling K. Brown, it felt more like a SAG pick. I was like, I don't know if they're going to go for that. It's a good performance. I like him in the movie. And
he's a liked actor, obviously. Yeah. But the Poor Things, there was just no way to pin down exactly who was ahead, because for the Globes, it was only Ruffalo. For SAG, it was only Dafoe. For Critics' Choice, it was both. And for BAFTA, it was neither. So there was no clear path to predict who would get in or which of the two or neither. I thought Ruffalo probably was more likely, and that ended up being the case.
Yeah.
Because showier performance.
Yeah, he missed SAG for Spotlight, right? Someone told me that. And then he got in, I think so. Then he got the Oscar nomination for that, and I felt like Dafoe had a shot because he's been nominated 4 times, and his last 2 nominations, I believe, was the film's only nomination, At Eternity's Gate and
At Eternity's Gate and the
Florida Project. So they clearly love him, and he's great in Poor Things. He's very memorable. The makeup job, and he got a couple, at least 1 or 2 precursors. So it's weird to me that he wouldn't get in for Poor Things, which gets 11 nominations, but they do nominate him for the Florida Project and supporting actor. That's weird.
This is where you have to imagine voters' mindsets and think about were a lot of people picking both of them, were they picking one, and I think it just probably the votes were very thin between the two of them, and I imagine it was quite close because the idea of voters loving that movie and picking one actor over another, I find a little hard to wrap my mind around, but clearly that happened.
Yeah. So this category is pretty easy to predict, right?
Yeah.
Could there be any surprise here?
No. No. It's between the two Barbenheimer guys, but I think you would agree with this. Myself and many other predictors, like basically on opening day for Oppenheimer, called it for Robert Downey Jr. It's just a perfect storm of factors that gets you an Oscar.
Yeah, and everybody loves him. He's been nominated twice before for strong performances, and he's in like the biggest contender of the year, and
Yep,
and it just feels right.
It's like a showy performance. He's in it just enough, but not too much. He's memorable. He gets kind of the climax of the film in a way with the appointment of the or rather lack of appointment of him
at the end.
And he's kind of playing an antagonist, which is weird to say because he's the antagonist of the man who invented nuclear war. But the way the movie positions him as a obtrusive force to Oppenheimer's like forced trying to redeem himself. That's the kind of narrative and character that this category goes for a lot. They like villains in this category.
Do you think Ryan Gosling is in second?
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll never really know because he won't win anything.
Yeah. There's a line in I'm Just Ken about being always number 2 or something, and this is the same thing.
So you think Downey Jr. wins BAFTA and SAG before?
I do. I think he's going to clean sweep. I think both supporting categories are going to be a clean sweep.
I would love Ryan Gosling to win something like at SAG. That'd be fun.
I was just thinking this morning, he has the craziest nomination history between his first nomination at like 26 for Half Nelson, which is this like low-fi indie Sundance movie, doesn't get any other nominations, and then he gets a Best Actor nomination for the biggest movie in Oscar history, basically La La Land, and then
14 nominations.
Yep, and then one of the most contentious films that the Oscars ever have dealt with because it not only maxed out its nominations, but had that whole envelope gate thing. So like a very
and there's a picture of him on stage, like just kind of smirking at the whole thing.
Yeah,
he's like he's amused.
So he's part of that. So he goes from the smallest nomination possible to the biggest nomination possible, and now he's in this very well liked performance in supporting actor.
Yeah.
In another huge movie.
Yeah, I think it being a kind of a comic performance hurts him in the end. Like if it's like between him and Downey Jr.
Although if comedy's going to win anywhere, it's the supporting categories.
Right. Yeah. But it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't happen too often, right? Comedic performances winning, supporting actor.
If they do win, they usually have like a tinge of something
dramatic.
deeper. Yeah, like I would call Troy Kotsur for Coda like a borderline comic performance, but then he has the one memorable scene, so it works.
So your final prediction in supporting actor is, of course, Robert De Niro.
He might get my vote if I had a ballot, but
he's so good in Killers of the Flower Moon. He's fantastic. I'm happy he made it in everywhere, right? He got nominated. Yeah. I mean, it's one of his best performances, at least in the last like 20, 30 years.
Yeah, it's one of his best 21st century performances.
But it's just, I mean, it's hard he's already won 2 at the beginning of his career, so it's not like we need to reward Robert De Niro with another one.
Yeah, we're approaching almost 50 years since his last one, which is wild, but there hasn't been like energy to get him a third in the way there was for Meryl. So
I think this is what everyone's predicting in this category. Anything but Downey Jr. would be a shock.
Yeah.
So Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. All right, next category is Best Supporting Actress. The nominees are Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple, America Ferrera, Barbie, Jodie Foster, Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers. Emily Blunt is finally an Oscar nominee.
Yeah. It's a little weird that this is the performance it's for, and that it wasn't a surprise. But she's had arguably 4 chances before to get in, and it has not happened.
Yeah, I mean, there were things with each of those movies.
Yeah.
They were kind of underperforming. Like A Quiet Place, kind of a horror film. Like they don't usually nominate that. So there were factors that prevented her from getting in before this.
Or like she would have been the only nomination for Girl on the Train.
That would have felt weird. That was a SAG nominee, I think she got in there.
Yeah, and I think she's good in that movie.
she's pretty good in that. But yeah, the movies were never quite strong enough. Like they weren't really recognized by the Academy until Oppenheimer. It was time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is the one we give her a nomination.
Yeah.
And Danielle Brooks is the only nominee for The Color Purple.
It's wild. This movie seemed like such a contender.
For most of 2023, exactly. I assumed it was going to be like 8 nominations.
And then when it opened on Christmas Day and had that huge box office day, that kind of petered out.
Yeah, so December 26th or 7th when I heard it, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to do very well at the Oscars. People love it, and it made a lot of money, and then it just kind of dipped.
And it wasn't surprising that she was the only nominee. Like outside of a kind of surprise nomination in costume or song.
Yeah, it
or
could have gotten a technical nomination.
Yeah, or like, I mean, the texts were just so dominated by Barbie, Poor
Yeah.
Things, Oppenheimer, and Killers. I mean, it could have. There's an argument that it was number 11 in Best Picture. I don't really know. There's no way to know.
If not 11, 12. I mean, it was
yes,
definitely close.
It was up there, but I just didn't have any confidence in it getting anything but Danielle Brooks.
And then, as we mentioned, Ferrera, we both were predicting her, even though I would argue she was the biggest surprise of the 20 acting.
Yes, 100%. And I was very nervous about my prediction, but I'm feeling quite good about myself.
Yeah. So, like, who did she take the place of? I mean, I the whole season I wanted Rosamund Pike to get in for Saltburn. I loved her in that movie. That would have been a cool, like, lone nomination for that movie, just for the history books. I would have liked that.
Well, this is where sixth place is. Like a lot of these categories, sixth place has so many factors against each individual nominee. You know, it was maybe Penelope Cruz for Ferrari. She got that SAG nomination.
She was probably close, too.
Yep, but that movie got no other nominations, so I don't think people were really watching it. It could have been Julianne Moore from May December, like we discussed. It could have been Sandra Hüller getting 2 nominations. This one for Zone of Interest.
I mean, when you think about it, it is kind of crazy that Ferrera got in over some of those names you just mentioned. Like, you would think, like, Julianne Moore would get more votes.
My thinking was, and I'm sure yours was similar, was Oscar voters are, lazy, as we saw with how many movies got double nominations this year. And they're filling out their ballot. They're watching as few movies as possible.
They're watching their 3 films of 2020.
Exactly. And one of them is Barbie.
Yeah.
They're watching Barbie. And if they're looking to, like, remember another woman to nominate in supporting actress, they might think, oh, America Ferrera had that memorable monologue.
Yep,
she
that was
also,
the scene.
In the middle of CCA voting, in the middle of Oscar voting, gave this great speech for an honorary award she got at the CCAs. It just made sense in hindsight, especially.
I mean, I don't want to, you know, like it's a strong performance. I don't want to ever say like, oh, she got in, you know, because of one scene, that monologue, and because she gave a great speech at Critics' Choice. I mean, I hope it's about more than that, right?
Probably, but we know how Oscar voters work, and sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. And then Jodie Foster got in for Naiad. I mean, this was an early category on nominations morning, and I was like, Foster looks kind of likely, Annette Bening not so much. So even when they said Jodie Foster, I wasn't like, oh, then that means Annette Bening's in.
Yeah,
I was like, this might just be the lone nomination for Naiad, because Jodie Foster had not been nominated in 29 years. I mean, it had been a long time.
I'm happy. Nell. From Nell to Naiad.
Yeah. So I'm happy she got in. I really like her performance in Naiad. Jodie Foster has always been great. So, but who's winning?
She's really good in that movie.
But who's winning this category?
Divine Joy right now. I mean,
is there anyone who can beat her? I have this like tiny premonition that Emily Blunt could win SAG. Pull a Jamie Lee Curtis
possibly
over Angela Bassett.
I think that Emily Blunt will win an Oscar one day. I don't know if voters want to do it, A, for this performance, and B, in supporting. I could see them wanting to hold off. Whereas Randolph, you know, she's not newer, but she's had less, you know, strikes at bat, is it the sports metaphor? And I can see voters being excited to reward her, and also a movie that they liked. Because this could be the only category it wins. The holdovers. Could be. I'm not predicting that, but could be.
One of the biggest question marks is like how well the holdovers will do outside of like supporting actress. I think we feel pretty good about Randolph's chances here, but in a couple of the other categories, like it could win, maybe not.
It could be 1, 2, or 3 wins.
But yeah, Divine Joy Randolph won almost every Critics' Prize for supporting actress, and then she won a Golden Globes, and then she won a Critics' Choice. And so I would say for her to have any vulnerability on Oscar night, she would have to miss at SAG. Like if someone else took SAG.
Yeah. I didn't think it would be this easy. I thought, I even predicted Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, for the Globes.
To win?
For the Globes to win.
Oh, okay.
But it just hasn't happened. No other strong competitor has showed up. You know, when Color Purple first premiered, people were predicting Danielle Brooks to win, just from that strong
for
song,
months,
and in general.
She seemed the obvious choice.
And this category likes musical performances a lot, actually. So, but
it felt like an Ariana DeBose West Side Story thing.
Sure, or you know, there's been a lot of examples of this. You know, Anne Hathaway and Les Mis. Dreamgirls and Chicago. These musicals win in this category frequently.
Yeah,
but I just think again, voters are lazy, and if they see the movie only got one nomination, they may feel like they can skip it, which is a shame because she's very good in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our predictions for this category, of course, Divine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers, outside of, kind of like Downey Jr., outside of a shock.
Yeah.
She's probably winning this. All right, next is Best Actor. The nominees are Bradley Cooper, Maestro, Coleman Domingo, Rustin, Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. What a great category of performances there.
I have very few faults at this category. Even not loving Maestro myself, I can't deny that he is, like, acting. I like Bradley Cooper in general, so I'm not too surprised or, like, whatever. This category went as I expected.
Totally predictable, which was the disappointing aspect of it. It would have been nice to have gotten like one shocker in there, but it was just so stacked.
Yeah.
There was no way to break in.
Also, actually, not really arguably, I think pretty clearly Coleman Domingo was the fifth.
Do you think so?
His movie got no other nominations. He's the least well-known of these five actors, but he's great in the movie, and as somebody who's been following him since he was a Tony nominee 15 years ago, basically, I'm very excited for him. And he's an out gay man playing an out gay character. How rare is that at the Oscars? Extremely rare.
Yeah, I read it's only the second time it's happened after Ian McKellen, Gods and Monsters.
For this category, the last time it happened was Ian McKellen, Gods and Monsters.
Yeah.
And the only other time.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And, the whole season, I'm like, Rustin is just not very strong of a movie in terms of, like, getting into other categories. Like, it got into song, I think, at Golden Globes or something.
Yeah, and when it missed song at the Oscars, which was one of the earlier categories, I was kind of like, oh, sorry, Coleman, they didn't watch your movie, but they did.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of amazing to me that Rustin gets this only nomination, but, like, DiCaprio can't get in for Killers, which gets 10 nominations, and he's very famous, and people love him. It's kind of interesting that they went with someone for a movie that only got one nomination.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to De Niro in The Irishman, where the movie gets 10 nominations, and it's the leading character. Then The Irishman, in this case, one of the killers, doesn't get nominated. Mm-hmm. And I had DiCaprio in all season for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
For a long time. And I'm just thinking, like, he rarely misses lately. He doesn't make many movies. He didn't get in for Don't Look Up, but that wasn't really surprising. But otherwise, he gets in for Revenant, Wolf of Wall Street. He is consistently nominated. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
He didn't even win the Golden Globe, right? Taron Egerton won for Rocket Man.
Who didn't even get nominated.
But then he didn't get nominated, and DiCaprio did. So I was like, I don't know, a Scorsese movie. It's like a big epic. Everyone loves it. Felt for a while like DiCaprio would crack the top 5, but they just didn't go for it.
Once he missed BAFTA and SAG, that's tough for me personally, as somebody who's been following this for a long time, to still hold on to him as a prediction.
I love that we have so many, first-time nominees here: Coleman Domingo, Cillian Murphy, and Jeffrey Wright. Yeah. Paul Giamatti. Some people think he's a first-time nominee. He did get a nomination for Cinderella Man, which not everybody remembers.
Cinderella Man. It's huge on TikTok. What are you talking about?
This should be Giamatti's third or fourth nomination. Yes. It's kind of ridiculous that he only had that one supporting nomination for Cinderella Man. But would you say this comes down to Giamatti versus Murphy? Are those in the top two? Do you think
agree.
Cooper is 100% out? Could he win SAG?
He could. I don't think he's going to. I think he's a comfortable third place. But I'm leaning towards Giamatti right now. I love Cillian Murphy in this performance. It would be my pick if I had a ballot. But I just think Giamatti makes a lot of sense. He's somebody who's been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves him. He feels like he should have an Oscar. Right. He just feels like the type.
I am, of all the categories, this is the one I'm most torn on. I really feel like it's close between Murphy and Giamatti. And, I mean, does it matter? Like, I'm like, oh, they didn't nominate Alexander Payne for director. Does that take away some of the chance for Giamatti to win, or does that not really matter in the long run?
I think Giamatti's status in the industry kind of trumps the film's not amazing nomination day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, plenty of movies would be extremely happy to get 5 nominations, including Best Picture, but it didn't do as well as we thought it would. It didn't get director. And did it miss editing? No, it got an editing.
It got into editing.
But it could have gotten supporting actor for Dominic Sessa. It could have done better, and it just didn't. But I think he maybe supersedes the film's reaction. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean the whole I know Cillian Murphy won at Golden Globes, but the whole season I'm like, it is
But
a
so did
it
Paul
is
Giamatti.
yeah. Murphy's performance, as much as I love it, it is a little bit more reserved, say, than the Giamatti
Yeah.
performance, and I feel like, especially if Giamatti wins at SAG, I think it's over. I think the only way Murphy stays in this, even if Murphy wins at BAFTA
Which I think he will.
and then Giamatti wins at SAG, I feel like
Right.
Giamatti edges him out for the Oscar.
It's going to be the exact same path that happened last year with... Oh, no, because Kate Blanchett won... Never mind.
Kate Blanchett was winning everything for a while there. She won Golden
won
Globe, Critics'
Globe.
Choice, and BAFTA.
Yeah.
BAFTA comes before SAG. And the whole time I was like, no, Michelle Yeoh's going to get this.
Yeah,
Like,
me too.
just be patient, everybody.
And that was a lot of factors. That was, they were excited to vote for her. They loved her movie.
Yeah,
Kate
and
Blanchett already had two.
And I mean, I guess it's not that, like, totally the same, but I feel like, two great performances last year, Kate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh, but one was kind of a more kind of reserved, quiet, strategic performance from Kate Blanchett, whereas Michelle Yeoh it's a more of a emotional performance, more of a passion vote, I feel like, for her last year, where I feel like that might happen again this year with Giamatti over Murphy.
Yeah. Cillian Murphy's performance is the kind of performance that the nomination could be the reward. It is not the kind of performance that wins in this category. This category loves bigger, showy performances. And in that sense, neither is Paul Giamatti, really. But it's a bigger performance than Cillian Murphy's.
Yeah. So who's your final prediction right now, very early on?
Giamatti.
I'm also going to go with Paul Giamatti for the holdovers to win, although if Cillian Murphy takes this, I think we'll both be very, very happy.
Yes. He would have to win SAG and BAFTA for me to predict him.
Yeah.
But it would be my pick if I had a ballot.
Okay, cool.
If you guys hear buzzing, blame the construction.
Yeah. So we're in an Airbnb. They're doing construction outside. So if you're hearing like a little buzzing as we get closer to the end of this video, there's nothing we can do about it. Oh, it stopped.
No.
Oh, it's back. The nominees for Best Actress are Annette Bening, Naiad, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller, Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan, Maestro, and Emma Stone, Poor Things. What do we think about Best Actress this year? We happy? We sad?
I like Annette Bening as an actress in general. She is my least favorite of all 20 acting nominations, pretty easily.
Okay.
Which is a shame, because again, I like her. She's she's been in the industry for a long time. She's come close to winning at least twice before. But it's hard not to think about who could have been in this category. And sorry, she's the obvious number 5. Her movie is the only non-Best Picture nominee in this category.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's not as calculated a performance as the other ones. That's totally subjective. But it's a much more big kind of character-based performance. She's doing a lot of physical stuff. She's swimming a lot.
She's the veteran of the category. If you want to go for the older actress this year,
Yeah.
that's the person.
Yeah, I believe all 4 other actors are in their 30s or 40s. So it's for this category. Actually, no, they prefer younger actors in this category. So I guess it's not too surprising.
Yeah. And then, Sandra Hüller, if she can just win something between now and Oscars, she's not out of this. It's such a good performance.
I think she's going to win the BAFTA.
Okay, BAFTA, didn't they really go for Anatomy of a Fall there? It did very well.
It got into every category it was shortlisted. It did as well as it possibly could.
And she got double nominated there, right? Mm-hmm. She's also nominated for Zone of Interest. Mm-hmm. And Lily Gladstone is not at BAFTA.
Right.
So why do you think Emma Stone can't win at BAFTA?
It's not that I don't think she can. She definitely could, and if she does, it will not be a surprise. And they liked that movie too. But I think Sandra Hüller is a little bit more to their taste. Although Emma Stone's performance is very European friendly, let's say. But this category is tough. This for me is the hardest of the 4 acting categories, pretty easily to predict.
Okay, what do you think? There's 3 potential winners here.
Yes, correct.
And it kind of depends on what happens at BAFTA and SAG to really make a good prediction.
Yeah, if Emma Stone wins BAFTA and SAG, she'll be going in with a clean sweep. She will have won those 2 plus Critics' Choice and the Globe's comedy.
Yeah.
I can't bet against that at the Oscars.
I feel like if Emma Stone wins at SAG, I think it might be over.
I think you're right.
Lily Gladstone, to really compete for the Oscar, she has to win one more thing.
The only
and
thing
she can't win. And she can't win BAFTA.
Yeah, because she was she was shockingly left off.
I do
with
think
that,
it's
though.
possible Gladstone could win SAG.
Yeah. I'm still predicting Gladstone. I've just felt all season that I think voters are excited to vote for her. It would be a huge win for representation, which the nomination already is, but a win would be even better. And she's the heart of the film. And if you like the movie, you love that performance. And I think the voters want to reward Killers somewhere because it could go home totally empty-handed. It could be the third Scorsese movie to win, to get 10 nominations and 0 wins after Gangs of New York and The Irishman. It could happen. But I think
it would be the only win for the movie.
Yeah, because
What about technical? Nothing in technical? Like maybe
it
one
could
or
win
two?
score.
Okay.
For a posthumous win.
Right.
I would have said it could win screenplay, but it's not even nominated. So I don't know. This category is hard.
It's hard for me because Poor Things is one of my 5 favorite films of the year, and I thought Emma Stone gave the most spectacular performance of 2023. So I feel like if she hadn't already won for La La Land, I think she has this in the bag. But there is going to be that thinking, she's like 35 years old. Like, do we want to give her a second Best Actress win?
Yeah, which they've done
You know.
plenty of times. They've given it to younger women quickly.
Yeah, Jodie Foster and Hilary Swank.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is a dazzling performance, and I feel like that would be the only Poor Things win in the top 8 categories, right? Like, it wouldn't win anything else. Maybe screenplay, but we didn't really talk about that.
Maybe screenplay, but probably
It'd be a way to honor, but that's the same thing with Gladstone. It would be a way to honor Killers in the top 8 categories.
Yes.
And
My thinking is very similar to last year's Blanchett Yeoh race. I think they have similar factors going in. You know, one would be, they're both amazing performances in Best Picture nominees that the Academy liked. One would be, among many other factors, a win for representation.
Yes.
And the other already has an Oscar or 2 if you're Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. It's hard to predict now because we've only seen Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, and it's like, I think we'll have a better idea after SAG and BAFTA, but I don't know.
I need more evidence.
Okay, so if you had to make a guess right now, who's winning Best Actress?
I'm still predicting
awesome.
Lily Gladstone for now. I've just felt that all season long for all those factors. Really, the only hiccups are the BAFTA miss. Because
that was kind of a bit. That's a big miss.
It is.
Like her not getting in a BAFTA.
Not great. But even with the Emma Stone Critics' Choice win, I was still feeling Lily Gladstone. But then the BAFTA miss happened.
Yeah, like if Michelle Yeoh had missed at BAFTA, like hadn't been nominated there, I would have been like, oh, maybe not. I mean, I don't know how much of a factor that plays, but. So yeah, right now, based on the first 2 ceremonies and based on my love for this performance, I am gonna say that Emma Stone will win for Poor Things. But it could absolutely go to Gladstone, and if Sandra Hüller wins at BAFTA, do not count her out. Anatomy of a Fall got into director and picture, as we'll talk about, did very well. So I'm going with Emma Stone right now, and you are going with?
Gladstone.
Okay. All right, 2 categories left. Next is Best Director. The nominees are Jonathan Glazer, The Zone of Interest, Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall. We happy with those nominations? Are we missing somebody?
I love this category. I think it is great. I think it looks great. I think it is 5 incredible films that are all feats of direction in their own individual way. Obviously, I would love the chance to have more than 1 woman in this category, as it seems to be is in the bylaws of the Academy for some reason.
They could have nominated 3.
Yeah.
They could have also given it to Greta Gerwig and Celine Song. Mm-hmm. That would have been cool. Can you imagine a year where we get 3 female nominees and director? How amazing that would be. 2 men, 3 women.
I just, this category could have been a disaster. And it's not. It could have been better, but it is for what it is, and knowing this branch of the Academy, which is, the snobbiest, most, insidery branch, this side of, the music categories, I think we can all be quite happy with this.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty happy with this lineup. I never thought they would nominate, 2 international films in director. And it happened.
The nomination announcements before they even announced any nominations, both the introduction and the hosts kept stressing. We received ballots from 93 countries. They are pushing this idea that the Academy is more international than ever. Mm-hmm. And these nominations, not just in this category, but overall, really reflect that.
Yeah. So, some of these just seem happy to be here. I don't think Glazer Triet can win. Justine Triet winning would be
It'd be wild.
Like, I think we would all fall down on the floor because I think it's kind of obvious who's winning this. This is probably the easiest category of the whole season.
I'd say this is even an easier call for Oppenheimer than Best Picture. I think Nolan is just... There are so many factors.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, he's beloved, his movies make money, and, you know, most of his films are just incredible, and he's been nominated a ton of times before. He's never won.
Once before. Or 2 times.
He's only been nominated twice?
He has 3 times. I think
he's nominated
the
director for Dunkirk.
Screenplay for Inception, and screenplay for
Memento.
Memento.
Inception, and then screenplay for Memento.
Oh, and I guess producing.
Did he get nominated for producing Inception?
I need to know. I need to know.
Like, he's not nominated for producing Oppenheimer, right?
Listen, my brain is full of lots of facts. This is not in there for some reason. Nominated for 8 Oscars. Never mind. He's got a lot of nominations. 3 for Oppenheimer this year, 2 for Dunkirk, including picture, 2 for Inception, including picture, and then Memento screenplay.
See, so, he corrected me, and he's like, no, he's only got 2 or 3. No. He's been nominated for a lot. Maybe not as much as Bradley Cooper.
Yell at me in the comments.
Bradley Cooper, not what? He's going maybe 12, 0 for 12.
He's in...
Bradley Cooper has to get to nomination number 20 to win something.
Well, I'm thinking the Baker's Dozen will be the one that does it for him. He's going to do a short film next or something like that. He'll become a makeup artist.
So, like, I mean, I thought Christopher Nolan was worthy for, like, The Dark Knight, but it was just, like, they're not going to reward him for, like, a comic book movie or a genre film. Like he had to make first a Dunkirk, which he finally got into director, but he just wasn't really in the conversation that year. He didn't win anything, really, for that.
That year was a sweep for Del Toro.
Yeah.
He only gets into Best Director when he makes World War II movies, apparently.
And then Oppenheimer was just the right film at the right time. It's everything going for it. This is his moment to win Best Director.
And it's not only all those factors, it's also really well directed. It's very obviously directed. There's a lot of scenes that showcase both what he's good at and also just really impressive perspective. I think of the scene where Oppenheimer's giving the victory speech, which I think is the crowning achievement of Nolan's entire career. The way he directs that scene. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, and there's such great work with sound and just the way he puts everything together. It's a film that no other person could have made the way he did.
Plus, he managed to make a 3-hour, talky, half black and white movie about a bunch of dudes in suits in boardrooms into a
billion.
Yeah, a blockbuster.
$1 billion.
Part of that on his name. You know, there was the Barbenheimer factor, but Christopher Nolan is one of those directors that people know by name and they show up for.
What a fascinating experiment it would be if the same movie, exactly the same, came out, but it wasn't Nolan, it was someone else. Like, would it have done as well? Like, at the box office? I don't know.
Todd Phillips, Oppenheimer.
You just know when Christopher Nolan's name's on a movie, you're going to check it out, and when it's that strong, people will go over and over again, and it's just going to keep doing well with all of these nominations. 13 nominations.
It's his time. It's just it's the easiest call of the night.
Easiest call of the night. Anyone but Nolan, I think, we would just, like, we wouldn't know what to do with it.
It would take a concerted effort of people being like, Nolan's going to win, so I'm going to go for...
Yeah.
I don't even know who number 2 is.
Everybody assumes he's going to win, so they vote for someone else.
Well, and the other factor is, like, who's the runner-up? Scorsese, and I don't think they're going to give him a second Oscar kind of by surprise. Yeah. If and when it happens, it's going to be a, like, all-season-long thing. Yeah.
I mean, I think Lanthimos would be up there. If Oppenheimer did not come out in 2023, I do think Lanthimos could be, like, a Del Toro win, kind of a stranger genre movie that people like.
Yeah, people were surprised he even got in, though. I wasn't predicting him at the end of the day, which was short-sighted of me.
Yeah.
Glazer was a more obvious nominee, even if has less chance of winning. It's one of those weird things that shakes out after the nominations are announced.
All right, so our prediction is Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Yes. Can't wait to hear his speech, because that's definitely happening. All right, our final category to talk about is Best Picture. The 10 nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. I'm so happy Past Lives is there.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
We both saw it at its premiere.
That's when we met. We met in person at the Past Lives premiere at Sundance. Not the premiere, but one of the screenings, P&I screenings.
We can call it the premiere.
We saw it very, very early, and I saw some wonderful films at Sundance 2023, but that was the one that really stuck with me, and I made a review for it, and it just kept building.
And the amazing thing is, it wasn't really one of the big Sundance movies before the festival.
Yeah,
Like I
it
feel
was
like
announced late. Remember, it was like a
and,
late edition.
Like it was in person only, which
Yeah.
there were only 3 films last year that was the case for.
Right.
So we had to see it in person.
Mm-hmm.
And like 2 or 3 days into the festival, I started to hear these rumblings about you
Yeah.
got to see the movie Past Lives. It's incredible. So we got into a really crowded screening because the word was out, and it just has not stopped since there. It's been a full year
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and just a really exciting journey.
Yeah,
for this film.
and then here we are at Sundance again a year later, and Past Lives gets a Best Picture
Yeah.
nomination at the Oscars.
It's really great.
really neat. I don't think it can win though.
Sorry. It could win screenplay. It's in the second tier for this category. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's a film I love, but just
Yeah,
the way it goes.
Sarah Polley won Best Adapted Screenplay for Women Talking last year, and that film only got the 2 nominations, picture
True.
and screenplay.
But her category last year was a little bit less competitive.
Yeah,
You know, it was between that
Living
and All Quiet on the Western Front,
Yeah.
which didn't really feel like a writing achievement.
Yeah,
So-
and Past Lives and Screenplays up against like The Holdovers and Anatomy of a
Yeah.
Fall. It's like that would be that's a big swing.
It would get my vote if I had a ballot, but I don't.
Yeah. So the same 10 nominees from PGA, which someone said that's the first time that's happened. Like it happened when there were 5 nominees
Yes,
in the 90s,
exactly.
but since it's been 10, we've
I think
never
it
had the
happened
exact.
3 times before when there were only 5 nominees,
Mm-hmm.
but never in a year of 10. But who was surprised? I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the right 10. Like, because we were all like, well, what would be the 11th choice? It would be like Color Purple
Exactly.
or Saltburn or something.
Origin.
Origin. So I remember some people were saying Origin could maybe make it in. Like, but then it's like, well, it's not going to just get the 1 nomination for picture and nothing
Or is
else.
it didn't, but it could have.
So yeah, it makes sense. I'm really happy with all of these choices here, and you know, we can go back and forth on what else could win outside of Oppenheimer. Is there anything that could take down Oppenheimer in Best Picture?
Nope. I don't know. Much like last year, there's no obvious second place contender, at least at this point.
The Holdovers? Because it missed director?
We're in an era where you don't need a Best Director win
Right.
or nomination.
Green Book,
Green Book, Coda.
Coda.
But
People love The Holdovers. They don't?
yeah, they do. But like the Oscars didn't love it as much as they could, whereas
Right.
Oppenheimer got everything.
But Coda only got 3 nominations.
Coda is now. I don't want to talk about Coda. I can't talk about that year. That year is going to be an asterisk for. I said this the day after Coda won Best Picture. For the rest of our lives as Oscar predictors, we're going to be saying, but Coda.
But Coda! 3 nominations, 3 wins. What's weird about Coda is that, like, if that had done better, like it had gotten into more categories, it probably would have won more stuff. You know?
My hot take is that if it was a year of 5, Coda would not have gotten a Best Picture nomination because the buzz
It grew after
rose.
the nomination.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with
enough
this
on
year.
Coda. We have a much better lineup this year
Yes, we do.
than 2 years
This is
ago.
a good
for Best
lineup.
Picture.
I'm really happy with this lineup. There's not really a dud in here.
There's not a dud. I mean, you know, Maestro. Many have said like Maestro is the one that could be kicked out.
Maestro's
I mean,
easily my number 10.
make me sad.
But it's not, you know, it's not. There's no Joker or Bohemian Rhapsody, which for me didn't work.
So what would you say is in second place? Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie.
I think maybe still Barbie. I know it
Barbie?
missed Best Director and Actress, but I think those specific categories have individual reasons why it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it did very well. It missed editing too, which I was predicting. But
Isn't that usually a statistic? Not every time. Usually you want a film editing nomination to
yeah,
win picture.
much like directing though, it's like, but not always now because Birdman didn't do it.
Right.
Coda obviously,
Mhm.
but I think the love for Barbie could mean it's in second place, but it doesn't matter. It's one of those years where it's like Nomadland. Whatever was in second place,
Yeah.
it's a distant second.
Like Poor Things won at Golden
Mm-hmm.
Globes, musical or comedy. I mean, I would put Poor Things in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see them giving Barbie Best Picture, especially if it doesn't win anything. Like maybe it could get screenplay, but that would surprise me. I just feel like the momentum is going to Oppenheimer. It won drama at the Golden Globes.
Yep.
It won a Critics' Choice.
It's gonna win the BAFTA.
Nolan, like it doesn't feel like the kind of movie where Nolan wins Best Director, but then they give Best Picture to something else. It doesn't feel right this year.
It could be like last year, actually even more than last year, because last year Everything Everywhere didn't win the Globe or BAFTA, which this year Oppenheimer could win, and Oppenheimer could and will win PGA, DGA, and could win SAG.
Yeah.
So
So I would put The Holdovers in second place.
Okay.
For me on this list, that to me is the only one that could upset it, but that's like a very long shot. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we both agree the winner of Best Picture is going to be Oppenheimer. His favorite film of the year.
I'm so bored. Sorry. It's a really good movie. What do you want me to say?
All right, so Cody, so tell our viewers where they can find you online.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere, Twitter, Letterboxd, all that stuff, at CodyMonster91. And I'm a writer and podcaster at Next Best Picture, so check out my work there.
So thanks so much for joining us here today. It's a lot of fun.
Brian?
And we will see you next time at the Awards Contender.